fact that he has avoided doing so until this point was great, and it just culminated with the whole like backlash of Hong Kong and shit.
I know it's not Kyle's topic, but
I want to talk about that with well, I mean, Taylor's gonna have some choice words. That is nuts. So the whole like Overwatch League, I'm sure you've seen about that.
I would need a catch up. I've only seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Hearthstone Grandmaster, one of the best people in Hearthstone, a la chess, Grandmaster, like competitor there during in Hong Kong during a Blizzard sanctioned tournament, wears a gas mask and says "Free Hong Kong." The interviewers, two of them on this Blizzard sanctioned event, duck down behind their monitors so their face is not available to be shown, right? Which is like, I guess, like normal for people who are protesting and that don't want to get involved. Like, don't show my face in case whatever.
Facial recognition issues.
Right. Blizzard Hong Kong cuts the broadcast, deletes all VODs, tries to delete all the clips, DMCAing every site that runs it. Blizzard comes out and apologizes to China, says, hey, we're sorry about this. Like, doesn't stand for us. Fires the two casters that had no discernible reason to be like, oh, this guy's gonna promote Hong Kong. Fires.
Well, he did come on with a gas mask, right?
No, but Tucker, you heard about that though, right? They
were
told
innocent bystanders.
No, they from what I heard, they told the casters, basically the guy told the casters, I'm going to do this, and the casters were like, okay, cool.
Oh, I did not hear that, so
yeah,
that's fine.
That's what I read. I don't. So either way, go ahead.
Yeah, either way. So they fired the casters. They removed the guy from the Hearthstone League for 12 months. He can no longer compete. Retroactively removed all of his prize money from any tournament that he's won, and then issued a giant apology. So basically, like Blizzard, which previous to, I guess, this moment was like one of the bastions of like, we support individual free speech and movement. We're talking about Hong Kong, Kyle. I mean, Taylor.
Oh, Hong Kong. I'm so well versed.
Yeah, Hong Kong and Blizzard, the whole Blizzard thing. Like retroactively removed his prize money, all this shit, banned him from competition, like bent over backwards. And the crazy thing is that a lot of people were going like, oh, it's because Tencent owns 10 to 15%, or no, 5 to 10% of the Overwatch League of of Blizzard and Activision. What's nutty is that not nutty. It's like there's two things. One, like Tencent owns 100% of Riot Games. They own League of Legends. Tencent is the sole owner now of Riot
Tencent
Games.
is a Chinese person, a Chinese company. What is
Tencent? Is a government-owned Chinese body. If you want to distribute your game in China, you have to have, I'm so sorry if this is like not verbatim like the truth, but you have to give up some percentage of your company to Tencent, which is a government-owned, the big thing. Like Call of Duty Mobile, developed and published by Tencent. League of Legends, like Blizzard, Activision, pretty much almost any major mobile game you're playing is Tencent developed. So it's like they're part of their way of like getting involved. Reddit is owned 10% by Tencent. So if you want your media distributed in China, like you have to go through the Chinese government via Tencent. So they do all this whole thing. They ban this guy. Then they're doing a collegiate Hearthstone tournament, and I think it's the American University or somebody. They're in the middle of this game. They just bring over a sign and it just says "Free Hong Kong." They just hold it right there. 15 seconds of that on there. They cut the tournament. They delete the feed, and then Blizzard walks it back and they say, hey, we're not going to punish you for that. Like, you can still compete. So American University goes, fuck you. Like, we're going to pull out of the entire season. If you're not going to punish us the same way you're going to punish the person that's living in Taiwan and protesting their actual physical thing. That university is now pulled out of the Overwatch League. Any Blizzard sanctioned event that's being live streamed on a Blizzard channel is just filled with free honk, like the Streisand effect. You want it to not be spoken about, right? So, but the one weird like caveat that I see on the internet is people keep trying to tie it into Tencent being like, well, oh, Tencent owns X amount of percentage of like whatever. Like you got to be careful. The real thing is that go look at the Overwatch viewership numbers from prior to Chinese adaptation. And then with the Chinese adaptation, the average viewership for like average across the entire tournament concurrent viewership without China was 2 million concurrent viewers across the entire Western world.
Uh-huh.
With China, it was 47 million. Now you can like make a point and being like, oh, like maybe they gassed the numbers or whatever, but like a market of 1.2 billion people, which are all like all growing up with like esports is their football or baseball or whatever the fuck. Yeah, right. Like it isn't such an absurd powerhouse in terms of like the economic weight that they can throw around that like what like it's an awful situation, but like I'm not shocked that Blizzard did this. I wouldn't be shocked if, you know, if Riot did this. It's just a weird, it's not a weird, it's an awful situation.
Well, that's why every sport is trying to branch out into China. Everything's trying to branch out into China. They're getting the NBA super popular there.
I got an NBA thing, but okay, Tucker, you go
I was
first.
going to say that. Let me wrap it up real quick. So then James Harden, who's been very vocal, James Harden is one of the top NBA players, very vocal in support of Colin Kaepernick, who's been, you know, the front runner for like protesting the NFL in terms of like kneeling for the national anthem, for brutality, whatever. Fucking just shut his mouth when asked directly about it and ignored all questions involving Hong Kong and protests involved with that because he's getting that fat fucking Chinese check. This is the guy that's standing out there and trying to wave the flag and saying like, I support anybody's ability to protest. And then when money comes to it, he just sits there and he's quiet and he waits until the reporters remove. It's fucked up.
So here I want to say this about the NBA. So the NBA, as you know, the GM from I forget which team said something about, you know, pro Hong Kong.
Pro Hong Kong, yeah.
And China got very angry. They cut the broadcasting to all these games that the NBA was going to have. So now they're still playing them, but no one's watching. The broadcasting's cut. China has an issue with the NBA, and they were like it was going well. People were interested in the NBA, and now they're not. NBA teams are, you know how they plan the salary cap and, you know, like what they can do. I can pay you a max contract, but if the salary cap goes up, suddenly I can get other max contract players in here. Mm-hmm. Well, they expect it to shrink. They're planning out what happens if the salary cap drops by 5, 10, 15%. And what kind of moves they'll be making in the end. Now, who knows what comes true?
Solely due to China, they're anticipating the salary cap plummeting.
They're planning contingencies in case the salary cap goes down, how they're going to manage their team, right? Because you can't even have the same players next year. You got to start getting rid of people.
Yeah.
So interesting times.
I love the tweet from the South Park guys. You see that?
Oh, which was incredible timing. So the South Park had literally aired an esports version of this called banned BANDIN China, banned in China, but obviously you know banned in China.
South Park is now entirely banned in China. By the way,
South Park cannot be aired in China because of this episode. But it literally, like 1 week prior to this all, was just about China throwing its economical weight in Western media, esports, whatever. Like they have an Overwatch section in that video. It was a great episode.
They said. I'm pulling up the exact quote. Like the NBA, we welcome the Chinese censors into our homes and into our hearts. We too love money more than freedom and democracy. Xi doesn't look just like Winnie the Pooh at all. Tune into our 300th episode this Wednesday at 10. Long live the great Communist Party of China. May this autumn sorghum harvest be plentiful.
I remember
we
the
good
autumn
now,
sorghum
China?
harvest.
What kind of harvest? Say it again.
Sorghum.
I don't know what that is.
I think it's a plant or something. Tucker, just you know, I
think it's like a syrup that you get from a plant.
I don't know if the meme existed before that tweet or if it's because of that tweet, but I am seeing pictures of Xi, whatever his name is, on Winnie the Pooh all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Matt or Woody, sorry, did you not see the whole? There was a horror game that got released by a Taiwanese developer on Steam, and there was a secret an Easter egg. If you like pounded through one of the random drywalls, there was a Sharpie sketch of Winnie the Pooh.
Oh no!
That game got removed from Steam. The developers got so like it was one of the most like brutal takedowns of a company. Period. Yeah. Just because of that comparison to Winnie the Pooh.
Goddamn,
he does look like Winnie the Pooh.
Well, it might predate it, like but it's gone viral. I think
no, he
because of the
doesn't.
South
He looks
Park
nothing
thing.
like Winnie the Pooh.
Nothing
and I
like
hope
it.
all of our Chinese listeners realize that also.
I'll go back, Tucker. I think I don't know where I read that they knew about the protests, because now I'm reading that they keep saying they didn't know. So I want to make sure that I'm not.
Oh,
exactly
you're talking
sure.
about the casters?
Yeah,
I mean,
because the casters seem like innocent bystanders in this whole thing.
I mean,
they were
I think
fired.
that they were fired. I think that even regardless if they weren't innocent, like even if they knew of it,
It doesn't matter.
like
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
like? It doesn't really matter in my personal opinion, but also
Same
I'm
with
not.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the whole thing is I said this before on, I think it was another podcast I was on just a few days ago, but I want to make sure that, like, it's interesting that Blizzard can enact these rules and do these sorts of things because of Chinese money when they were birthed in a capitalist democracy.
But it's not, but it's just like like if somebody said, if we remove this market from you, you will no longer reach 800% of your normal reach. Like, it is just it's such a difficult concept, especially coming from a capitalist environment where you're like, yeah, it's nuts. Like, what do you do?
Well, so this is the argument that everybody has all the time and has for the last 15, 20 years about capitalism. It's like, is there capitalism with morality? Can you actually, capitalism with a soul? And that's something that I feel like.
No, of course not. It's a entire engine built on perpetual growth.
If a capitalist company has a soul, it opens itself to get beaten by one that doesn't.
I mean, yes, yeah, no, and that's sort of the
late stage capitalism.
That's the hardest part. Yeah, that's the hardest part. And so, like, I don't feel bad for Blizzard. I think Blizzard made the wrong call here, especially apparently the way they punished the protester was extremely harsh.
It was
compared to, like, what was it, XQC, I think, got punished like a 7-day ban or something. It was minor.
I like how Singapore punishes people. They'll, like, if you spit your gum out, they'll like whip you or
cane you for for spitting your gum out. It's not,
dude, that's
it's punishable by death if you like bring drugs in there.
If you spit the gum too far.
no, that's crazy. Wait, so okay, here's a unique. If we're on the China train here, I have quite a few musician friends that play in the emerging Asian market, like China. What bigger market that you could bring EDM to? And so they're playing EDC China, etc., or Ultra. I can't remember which one. And before they go on stage, their liaison will take them aside and say, "You cannot curse. You cannot talk about Taiwan. You cannot do any of this. We will detain you. You will not leave the country. There's nothing you can do."
Yeah.
One of my friends said "fuck" on the microphone.
Oh no.
After he got off stage, they detained him for 12 hours. They went, it was like, you're like a serious size. He said, China, whatever, like, let's get fucking crazy. They detained him for that. Like, the thought of holding up a Taiwanese flag during that time, or like even doing anything in support of that on that stage, I would be shocked to if you like walked out within a week.
Wait,
like,
I got confused.
No way.
Did this happen in Singapore or China?
No, this happened in China. What'd you say?
I said we should go to a live PKA in Beijing.
Yeah, we should. Yeah,
I'll write that down on my. Put that in your good ideas list, Taylor.
This is in the good idea journal.
You should dress as Winnie the Pooh.
Shit! Oh no.
Yeah.
That's gonna be pretty dope though, because they always say like, "Oh, the Streisand effect." But if you're like Xi Jinping or whatever, and you can just be like, "Oh, get rid of all of that," like. That's got to rule.
Like, literally get rid of all of that, and they actually have the
Mr.
tools
Jinping, they're making fun of you on a site called Reddit. Yeah, that's no more. No more of that.
That's what they're doing. That's not a joke. That's literally what they're doing. Yeah,
I wonder how effective it is.
Very, all right, look, like, effective word of mouth. So, like, you can ban every Twitch user on the site, period, and people will continue to make accounts. It, like, all you need to do is suppress it below, like, the boiling point, and then it just kind of dies off, right? So if I go to Blizzard in 3 months and I don't see a free Hong Kong post, they kind of did it, right? Like, they kind of succeeded in suppressing it. I don't think that they're going to be able to do that just because of like how vocal, honestly, you messed with gamers and they're gonna rise up. Like
Gamers rise up.
Right, boycotts
there's
coming.
but there's very few people that are gonna hold on to something vindictively than like people that play video games. So I don't think that they're ever gonna be able to wash this from their hands. But I'm just kind of surprised that they took the hardest stance they could possibly ever take instead of quietly trying to do something behind the scenes. It just seems very like puppeteery. Like
Also, I can tell you how effective that is for the Chinese government. I mean, they've got hundreds of thousands of people protesting for months in Hong Kong now because the Chinese government is trying to silence them. So the more they do that, I mean, it sounds stupid, but it's like the rebellion in Star Wars. The more they do that, the more people join that rebellion and go, fuck this place. We're tired of it. And if you get enough angry people out there in China, that'll be it for the communist government.
I mean, what is it that China is like? I'm sorry, not China. Hong Kong is angling for? Do they want complete independence, like a city-state kind of thing?
Originally, there were a lot of like minute things that they were trying to like, and I would have to actually go through a list of things because I don't know them offhand. But but beyond that, their major goal right now, Tucker, I don't know what they're pushing for.
I'm pretty sure their major goal is just is straight independence. So right now they have 5
demands.
They are like the Puerto Rico of China, right?
But like a little more vocal about it.
But, just a little, just like the smallest amount more vocal. I mean, and like to dive into this as somebody who's not like you need a degree to be able to dive into this. Just
let me on the floor for a second. I feel like
go for it.
Hong Kong, the protesters put out their demands in a very clear way. They want full withdrawal of the extradition bill, since you don't take Hong Kong citizens and bring them to China. They want to commission an inquiry into alleged police brutality, retracting the classification of protesters as rioters, amnesty for protesters, dual universal suffrage, meaning both the legislative council and the chief executive. I don't actually know what that means. Shit. What does that mean? You seem to understand it.
No. I was meaning they're not getting all of that.
Oh, okay. Let me read the last one. At the moment, only half of the seats in Lurko, the body which makes the city laws, are directly elected by the voters. The other 35 seats are from functional constituencies and elected according to professionals or trades. But this means that the corporations and selected voters get to vote the representatives of their particular sector. This is a tough read.
Seems like
that's sort of what the board
like
was as well. The bicameral suffrage thing. They basically want a representative government that they elect. They
want democracy.
Yes, they want to self-govern.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and this this is like China and Taiwan is like very similar to the whole Middle East of like, well, who the fuck gets Palestine? Like, who gets Israel? You know what I mean? It's like a very complex and deep-rooted thing that started with the Civil War. I don't know how many years ago, but like they never got independence, but they sort of did. And now you need a degree to be able to piece together all this shit.
I don't know enough about any of this.
Neither do
I. don't really care. I like the stylish masks they wear, though.
They made them illegal.
No, this is...
Dude, they do have
nuts.
some cool-ass masks.
They've done so, like, I've looked at a bunch of like overall protesting videos where they've like created supply chains for gas masks. So if there's tear gassing going out the front, you see like your 45-year-old like businessman handing it to your 70-year-old grandmother who hands it to like the 12-year-old. Like they started painting or like shooting paint canisters at protesters in blue. So like businessmen would just like show up with blue on their shirts.
Oh, that's hilarious.
If they perfected a really good method of protesting in a way that I'm like, God, America sucks at protest. Like, there's nothing anybody like any of us could do that would even be remotely as good.
Oh yeah, we suck cock at protesting because like they'll be like, I'm anti-establishment, and the establishment will be like,
every time we have a good protest,
you go ahead and protest.
Stop running people over. Put those tiki torches down.
I will say that I feel like some of the stuff we praise Hong Kong for, they'd be like, can you believe they blocked the roads? I'm just trying to get to work. You know, like if we do even 1/10 of what happens in Hong Kong.
That is a real thing, though.
Like if you're trying to earn people over with the protest and your protest blocks roads, you're not winning the normal everyman over. Like you need to be more creative, come up with something. Like you're being counterintuitive almost towards whatever goal they have in mind.
So what is Hong Kong doing? I mean, they're blocking roads. They're shutting down.
Hong Kong is so in solidarity, I believe. Like there's like it's such a homogenous group of people that are actively working towards the same goal, whereas like a lot of the protests in the United, like think of the size geographically and also the spread and in general, like the difference in everyday life, right? Hong Kong, very small, a lot of people, it'd be like a protest of New York City versus a protest of everybody in the US. You understand? So like everybody in New York City has a concentrated goal and idea. But like
it kind of supports my point. Like it's not that these guys suck at protesting. It's when they protest, we tell them they suck.
I'm saying that like the everyman in Hong Kong is probably also in line with that. Just like you'd expect the general public of New York or like let's say Los Angeles, right? When they had the Me Too march, I was in downtown. I literally could not get home for 8 hours because there was no possible way. Was I upset with that? Yeah, a little bit, but like also,
it probably made you want to molest someone.
No, don't think I'm gonna go that far. No, I was just like, damn, I really want to go home, but also like, it's fine. Like I can make do. Like being in a geography with 8 million or like a city with 8 million people that are all relatively, homogeneous is different from being across a nation where it's so Hong Kong concentrated amount of a lot of people with a similar passion in mind versus a big ass fucking country.
Are they like Hong Kong isn't ethnically different from most of China, right? Like
no,
like
but
it's mostly Chinese people there, I would think.
Yeah, they look.
No, they're Taiwanese
or Taiwanese. I don't know. I don't know.
I can't tell the difference.
I don't know the difference. Yeah,
it's like God, I don't know. It'd be like if.
My dogs are yelling. Every time I do this voice, these dogs get very upset in the other room.
He's gonna eat us! He's gonna eat us!
They're barking and freaking
like
out.
I don't know. Like what's the
Hong Kong mainly consists of Han Chinese. Just it's from what Wikipedia says.
Yeah, Chinese.
It's literally a civil war that separated Hong Kong people from Hong Kong. Like Taiwanese people believe that they have independence. Yeah. Mainland China says no, right?
If you want a good documentary about it, it's Big Trouble in Little China with Kurt Russell.
Okay, yeah, that sounds very.
That's actually see, but like think of it like this: what if everybody in New Orleans, like they talk with that weird ass accent,
no,
part
fucking
French?
Creole.
What if they're speaking Creole and they're like, we're tired of this entirely on Creole system. We want to do our own. And
I'd say let them go.
I'm
me more
using for them, even if it doesn't make sense. I'm kind of just doing Kevin Spacey from.
That's right.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're very Kevin Spacey.